Get your counters ready. We will vote on this matter. All those sacrifice and let the decision on assessment Papa said he sees motion. Raise your hands, please. Your hand down. Don't put your hand down. You keep your hands up. Because sometimes courage to vote. Oh, okay, all right. Are you done? The Ekapipi chairperson, Reverend ID Asari, other courts, raise your hands. That the court should decide. Oh. Anyway, now. Nipa 7, so want to ID Waboka. But ID, if you go and there are certain loans or rebates that were given that were not necessarily connected, and if a sacrifice. I don't know much across. Okay. So the first motion under the name of the Reverend Dr. Seskisi had 116 votes. The second motion had 28 votes. So the first motion is carried. Thank you. God bless. Now, yesterday, there was one thing that we left out, and the lawyers have brought it to my attention. It has to do with an attachment to the clerk's report concerning interpretation of the phrase external auditor. External auditor. May I humbly invite the lawyers who have worked all night on this to please do a presentation on it. Are they here? Are they here now? Lawyer,
yes, Papa.
First tell us what the problem is. What problem are we dealing with? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Papa. Papa, please.
You have enough space, so kindly remove so I can hear you well.
Okay. Please, the General Assembly Council refer the matter to the committee.
Explain what the matter is.
Okay, so the matter has to do with the interpretation of approved of the various courts must be audited by. Doesn't mean that account fed to the legal act in his report presented that proposed interpretation to the GAC, to this house. They discussed it and engaged the legal advisors and all of us.
So read what you have.
Yes, sir.
Is it on the screen?
Yes.
All right.
So.
Excuse me, why are the legal advisors? Where are they?
They are on the way coming,
almost
here. That's right.
Director of Finance noted that the legal advisors are late. I want to be sure whether there are other lawyers in the room. Me, I don't want to be cheated by one lawyer. So
Yes, Papa.
I see Mr. Robert Edumanti. Philip, are you here?
Yeah.
Where are you? Obi George, where are you? Okay, where is Philip? Philip too is sleeping. Okay. All right. Timothy, I've made you a lawyer. Go ahead.
Yes, Papa. Thank you. The Articles 9, 25, 13, 26, 19, 24, and 24, 22 require that the books and accounts of the congregation, district session, presbytery session, or the General Assembly and the General Assembly respectively shall be audited by an approved external auditor. Considering the proposed interpretation for the General for approved external auditor. An approved external auditor to ensure that their books are audited by an approved external auditor. How the court ensures that the audit is done should be left to the court. The applicable court may appoint an external auditor by itself or in consultation and/or with the assistance of the next higher court. What is important is the independence of the auditing process. Humbly submitted.
Hey, you went around the matter, you didn't get to the core of the thing. So who is an external auditor for the church?
The first sentence, an external audit, approved external auditor within the meaning of the Constitution is a person independent of the court who is qualified under the law which regulates the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana, and licensed to practice as such. And then there is the other portions that deal with the practical issues that we are confronted with.
But our problem, that is where the problem started. That most people in the villages are not able to get to these types of people. And so the suggestion that came was that some districts have external auditors, and so the district external auditor could then oversee that of the congregations, and the Presbytery one to oversee that of the districts, and so on and so forth. And it came up, and we discussed it, and we tried to find ways and means of incorporating that into our definition. Now that aspect seems to be lost.
Papa, it continues. So if I may just give
show it. Let them show the thing. Let's see. Please read it again.
So, an approved external auditor within the meaning of the PCG Constitution is a person independent of the court who is qualified under the law which regulates the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana, and licensed to practice as such. The provisions in the Constitution only enjoins each court to ensure that their books are audited by an approved external auditor. How the court ensures that the audit is done should be left to the court. The applicable court may appoint an external auditor by itself or in consultation and/or with the assistance of the next higher court. What is important is the independence of the auditing process. So that is the definition we are giving to it.
I did any comments? Because always my worry is, I keep saying that about 65% of our church is rural. And sometimes when it comes to these things, I want those of you who have come from the rural places to talk before Ludwig gets up. So, Ludwig, you are not speaking now. Let me get the rural people to speak on the matter first, then I'll let you speak.
I'm from Mabokobi.
Go to the microphone. Go to the microphone. You go to the microphones, then I will decide whom to call. I saw hands up the back too. Go to the microphone. Yes. Yeah, but I said rural. Asante Presbytery Chairperson.
Watch out, moderator. The issue at stake was that most of the churches are in villages. Some of the districts, it's hard to come by an external auditor. So we're thinking of how the districts and the locals will be audited. That's the bone of contention. As for the presbyteries, we are a little bit okay. But those down there, they won't get the people. And the fees they charge, we cannot pay. So we're thinking of how the church can help in that way. Because we have some...
Where nobody even speaks English.
Yes.
And the word auditor is not in the Tree language.
Yes.
And Mr. Bocho, you are laughing. It would never even
far away. Chelsea Chrome District. It's a problem. Chelsea. Yeah.
Let me take, yes, your name, please.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Richard Akologo, Upper Presbytery.
Upper Presbytery.
Yeah. If the definition given is made to stand, what it means is that in every congregation, whether rural or urban, the person should be a chartered accountant who has been licensed to practice before he can do the audit. Maybe at the district level, the district director of finance may not be a chartered accountant. The presbytery director does not solve the problem that we want to address. So the definition is very restricted to somebody who is qualified and not congregations are concerned. Thank you.
And to think about it, in your place, I can think of a place where in 10 miles radius, you will not get a chartered accountant.
The external auditor should be outside the court. Then the finance committee can constitute the external auditor team to come and audit. That is, outside the court means probably from another district, the finance committee can appoint people to come and audit their books instead of still pinning to a qualified chartered accountant, which is difficult to get. And therefore, if they can, they will only end by saying that all...
The definition of the external auditor.
That's right. That's where the problem is.
Yes.
Because they are still repeating the same problem.
George Obianji, Reverend.
Thank you, Sir Papa.
In British English, you don't say Reverend and Esquire. You choose one.
Yes, Sir Papa.
Thank you.
Has not solved the problem we are trying to solve. And I think we should reword the issue well. We are a body. And what we are saying is that the word used in our constitution, we have an interpretation for it. We did not talk about certified in the constitution. We have not talked about licensed person in our constitution. So some circles, there could be that. But what we are saying is that as a church, let's give ourselves a simple interpretation of what we mean by approved external auditor. Now, what we discuss is that approved by the court.
Thank you very much.
That's
George.
all. Independent.
George, today you have spoken very well. That we had our own analysis meeting and said that, hey, in accounting there, if you say auditor, this is the definition. And then the thing started giving us headache. So what you have told us is that we have not said that we have adopted the chartered accountant people's definition of a chartered accountant. We have not said that. Yeah. So I've heard you then on that one. Let me take Ludwig, then I'll take Professor Kwashi.
Papa, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is that the rules of auditing is a national law. It is a requirement of the laws of Ghana that if you exist as an institution, you should be audit your system. And that auditing process is governed by law. And the law requires certain who qualifies to audit our books if the interpretation being given is an interpretation. That is my understanding.
Thank you.
Myself, to a large extent, with what George submitted. I think that it is our constitution. We must go along with the spirit of the constitution. As you have indicated, as a church, we cannot follow the laws of Ghana when it comes to auditing. For the whole church, yes, it can apply. But when we say approved, we are not talking about approved by Ghana. We are talking about approved by the court that is involved. And that is my understanding, and that is the spirit of the Constitution.
Sure.
We can't be, offering interpretations that are impossible to fulfill.
Thank you very much. When we finish, see me for 15 Ghana cedis. Yes, Lawyer Robert.
Papa, thank you very much. Papa, I think that...
Oh, today you didn't give your normal preamble.
About the greatest respect.
Thank you. That's what I'm waiting for.
The greatest respect. I think we are creating a problem for ourselves. Properly speaking, Papa, I don't see anything wrong with the interpretation that the lawyer has given. Because if you give a lawyer a document of what you have given to him, Papa, we are able to give the interpretation that we like as Presbyterian Church because we have people who were part of the process of writing the Constitution. So they understood and they knew what they had in mind when they were writing the Constitution. A time is coming when nobody who was part of that process will be around. And so that interpretation, there are problem from an interpretation. If we don't have qualified accountants in the rural areas, then it is up to us to go that will lead to an absurdity, as Professor Kwashi is saying. In that, we can give it the interpretation that will enable us operate, amend the Constitution and give some interpretation to it. Maybe we can add something to the interpretation section of the Constitution as to what we mean by an approved auditor. Thank you, Papa.
Mr. Robert Yadumanti, today you were not clear. So when we finish, you give me 50. Auditor.
Papa Moderator, thank you, sir. Papa,
about all of you to the head office, and he does such a great job. He has some applause for the good work that he does. Now your voice, please. Let's hear you.
Yeah, Papa, as an internal auditor, that is fine. But audited by a chartered, then the internal auditors, if they have a vibrant internal auditors, we or the internal auditors are to audit the branches, bring the branch audited accounts. It will be reviewed by the chartered firm, consolidated, and then that becomes the national accounts of a company. And PCG, in this respect, is like a company. I don't have a problem with the definition, but this is also what I know about what the law says.
Yes. So the issue that we are hearing is that if you give it to a lawyer, he has to interpret it according to the laws of the land.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, but then we are a church, and we don't want to bring ourselves into absurdity. So, in terms of interpretation. So, how do we handle this? Because the way the Constitution is worded in Article 925, it says that the books and accounts of the congregational session shall, within 3 months after the end of each financial year, be audited by an approved external auditor and the audited account presented to the congregation and the district session. And it's very clear, isn't it? And the concept of an external auditor, according to your profession, has to be a qualified, chartered person and so on. The issue we are dealing with is, as it relates to a local congregation whose annual income is 850 Ghana cedis for the whole year, and the external auditor is charging 1,850 Ghana cedis. Then what happened? What are we doing to ourselves? And so we need help. We need help.
Papa, please, can I
George, yes.
I think as far as the lawyers have done the interpretation, I perfectly agree with them. Because Section 138 of the Companies Act talks about who qualifies to be an auditor. And that person must be a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana and must be licensed as such and not disqualified.
Okay.
Now, in our context, as far as our national and purposes are concerned, we need to interpret external auditor in that line. So I humbly submit that we, as a GA, can make an amendment to the Constitution which, in the eyes of us, the district and down there, we can also ask somebody who is knowledgeable in accounting who can audit them, but not necessarily a chartered accountant. But if interpreted in the light of the fact that not in the line of the Ghana law, we may be making a mistake. But we can amend to cater for those down there. Thank you, moderator.
So wait, before you go, if I were to ask you, so if you were to make a proposal, what statement would you make?
I would say that our Constitution. What it means. I've just said that we need to make amendment to our Constitution in that line. When we are accounts, we need really a chartered accountant who is licensed to do it. So in this light, in my submission, it should be restricted to the national and the presbyteries. And this is my humble submission.
Abba, please.
Thank you.
Abba, can I make a suggestion?
Let me take George again.
Okay.
Papa, thank you. Papa, I just want Assembly to get the fact that this in any way by the Companies Act. Papa, that is one of the things we must correct.
Hey, hold it. Hold it. Right there. We can move on.
Papa,
You are a lawyer.
yes.
And you are saying that we are not in any way held.
We are a trustee. We are registered under the trustee. Sometimes, Papa, there is the impression that every church, this act, the standards required by the Companies Act, you are bound by it entirely. And we were doing that, we require that. And Papa, secondly, in that circumstances, locals, district and presbyteries will not be doing separate accounts from the national. It will be one body. Papa, if I give you an example like Ghana Commercial Bank or GCB, you don't get an entity on its own.
So the entity is PCG.
That is it, Papa.
Not the districts and locals.
Locals. That's why in law,
I think you have a good point
that.
there. You keep the 20 Ghana cities. Richard, your reaction?
Incorporated under the Companies Act. But the independence of the process is what's important. You know, people that are entrusted with our money, they account properly. And so you as a church will also want to be.
Richard, if you agree with him, then what he's saying is that the church as church, which is a national church, must be audited properly. Fine. And that is the general external auditor in that section in a different way that can suit us. That is the point that he's making. But at the national level, we cannot afford to interpret just in the way that suits us. It must be interpreted legally.
I concede, and I had a
You
suggestion.
concede to that.
Like an addition to the interpretation and see if it will help in wrapping up this. So after the interpretation of who an external auditor is, then we can add or otherwise approved by the church. Or otherwise,
Let me just say that I think we are creating a problem where really there should not be one. The problem we are facing is not a matter of interpretation. It is finding the people who can do it. Papa, if you ask anybody to give a definition of who to give birth, if the psychologist in a blue attendant, psychologist to include that. So what to the next, an auditor, and get an auditor to audit us, and we share the, I've agreed that for our purposes, A, B, C, and D. But I will say let us be worried because today we are seeking and it will say that is not what we meant. So all that we are doing, if we cannot find an approved auditor, can districts come together and share the cost? That is the one solution.
Sure. In the light, we shall see light. Come forward.
Papa, please, can I add to what Papa Adimante says?
I know how to do it. Yes.
Papa, can I add to that?
I want Mr. Ojija to speak.
Papa, thank you. My village congregation was not registered with the company's, under the company's auditor. The approval should be given by the rightful court.
So,
it's the General Assembly.
yes.
So, if we place a definition or a Supreme Court of Ghana should not belong to my congregation and can look through. Otherwise, I just go with all the units under the church are within our books. That will be at the head office and can go through our books. That should be enough.
What is going through MAM together within the district or within the Presbytery auditor, then they can share consequences of if you want to go for a loan, a nice Presbyterian who is not okay with people, all that the needs of getting the call level, it should not be difficult, is it? So in every Presbytery you may get one to become a body's account would have been audited by a proper. George, you still want to speak?
If because, Papa, therefore, whatever means, if we are unable to go,
I do recollect, say for example, into congregation, but I don't think we've heard that yet. And if anybody then encounters
the slight challenge with that account, the auditing, and that's why the Presbytery portions has not been done. So we were thinking that if it's a decentralized system, but that interpretation, we have every right, in my opinion, as an assembly, to put on that phrase, and then that saves us.
I agree with you. We have,
saves us.
as a court, the authority to decide that, and we also have a court the authority to accept the fact that intentionally organize, help the congregations to get proper auditors to audit their accounts. And I think then they can share the costs and it'll be easier for us. The good thing too is that then it can help you to assemble within your presbytery who the professional auditors are. You get to know more of those. I see that it could be a problem, but I want to hear North. Who is that? Thank you.
Moderator, can I say something? 2 years ago, we took to this approach where we sent districts together to share the cost. And
that's what we are going to say. I wouldn't have asked. We will then keep to the interpretation. I was looking at some of the smaller do fundraising. I will come and donate.
The lawyer to us, the interpretation of approved external auditor in our constitution, we are accepted.
Hand way back. Thank you.
The face of the reality assembly, while the auditors will be approved by the higher courts. Districts will approve of an external team to audit the congregations. I so move, sir.
Okay, so moves. I see a hand at the back. Yeah, is that you?
Yeah, Burma, second motion. I say by ɛbɛkɔ chairperson.
Okay. Moved and rightly seconded. Under the name of Ludwig Hesse to the laws of the land. All in. Why is my microphone doing this? Those in favor of the second motion under the name of the Reverend Dr. Seth Kisi, please raise your hands. That is to say, the accounts of the national and presbyteries will be audited by, and then the districts and congregation. It could be qualified people. Thank you. All right. Not that it will matter, but okay, right. Now, the first motion had 16. The second, please word it well so that where they are chatted and so on. Yeah. Because in the bigger cities, like in Accra, a local congregation like this one, they can pay. We are about to ourselves a short break whilst you organize them. Okay. Somebody said no, and I don't know why the person said no. Have you had a minute since yesterday? Huh? You had it this morning. Oh, okay. All right. If you had it, huh? I'm just thinking. We will take a short break and come back at 10:30. By that time, yeah, this is biological break. By that time, you would have scanned through this, and we will take it. In 2019, there was a